It's day 11 and Trump has just said that the war will be ending very soon. So here's everything you need to know. Firstly, I'd take what Trump said with a little pinch of salt, because at the same time Pete Hegseth is saying that we've only just begun, and Iran is vowing the opposite, an escalation, saying from now on their missile attacks will only launch warheads weighing more than a ton. What Trump's war ending soon comments did do, however, is aid in bringing the price of oil down from 120, which it's quickly spiked up to now sitting around 90. Trump did then threaten Iran with death, fire, and fury if they stop the flow of oil. So a nice balance of we have no clue what's happening tomorrow. Iran has made a pretty stunning announcement saying that any Arab or European country that kicks an Israeli or American ambassador out of their country will be allowed to freely pass through the Strait of Hormuz starting tomorrow. Vietnam is now urging people to work from home due to fuel shortages because of the war. The EU's council president said that Russia is the only winner of this Middle East war. Speaking of which, the US spoke to Putin for the first time since this all broke out, and he reportedly presented Trump several proposals for ending the war with Iran. Fearing for their safety returning home, Australia have given 5 Iranian football players humanitarian visas after they refused to sing the national anthem during the Women's Asian Cup. As for the rest of their team, well, their bus heading to the airport was temporarily blocked by protesters pleading with women to stay. Also, large crowds have gathered across Iran to pledge allegiance to their new supreme leader, Mujtaba Khamenei. But he himself is yet to make an appearance. See you all on day 12.
Now he's talking about it ending. Just like I said yesterday, he's talking about it ending soon, very soon. We've accomplished everything. Oh my gosh. You talk about a complete 180 from yesterday. Oh, we're ground troops, and yeah, I'm going to be the leader. Just complete nonsense from this man. And now lives have been lost. Futures have been damaged. I mean, for what? For what? Why are we going through all of this pain with this man? Oh my gosh, this was such a horrible experience. And I'm still amazed that some of you wanted to see this again. And here it is, just 1 year into this mess, and it's just everything's a disaster. And it's because of one man. Just one. I hope you guys feel stupid, because you should.
On Iran, you called it an excursion. You said it would be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over?
No,
Are you talking
but soon.
about days?
I think soon.
Okay, and with respect
Very
to...
soon. Look, everything they have is gone, including their leadership. In fact, there are 2 levels of leadership, and even actually, as it turns out, more than that. But 2 levels of leadership are gone. We're ahead of our initial timeline by a lot. I would say that we probably would not have thought after a month we'd be here. In addition to the fact that we've taken out the leadership twice and maybe 3 times.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kola, and now President Donald Trump is saying the war with Iran could be ending very soon, even hinting it might wrap up within about 4 weeks. And honestly, a lot of Americans, including some of his own MAGA supporters, aren't exactly sure what to believe in anymore, because at the beginning of this conflict, the message was that this was necessary, quick, and that the US had to strike before Iran became an even bigger threat. But now the question people are asking is, if it's ending soon, why did it start like this in the first place? But before we dive in ahead, let's first watch how people are reacting to this, and then we're going to come back with a full commentary at the end of the video. And guys, if you haven't yet subscribed, I'll gladly appreciate if you do so.
Is the war in Iran coming to an end? Well, if you believe Donald Trump's statements, as he has said, the war is almost complete, and that'll just be a short excursion. And the reason why I'm smiling and almost laughing is because that is absolutely not going to be the case. Let me explain. The first thing to understand is, as we all know, Trump lies all the time. This is the same president who also promised to bring the war in Ukraine to an end, as well as bring a ceasefire to Gaza. So why would he make such a statement if it weren't true? Well, part of the reason is markets, and especially the oil market, is not looking good. At the time I was filming this video, oil actually rose almost 20% before Donald Trump, of course, made these statements and briefly calmed those markets down. The other reason, though, Donald Trump is making these statements is because, as myself and everyone almost predicted, at least anyone who's taken this conflict seriously, the war is going absolutely terrible for the United States and Israel. Their military bases are being hit, and as they run out of missile interceptors, we're seeing especially Israel, for instance, bear the consequences, with Iranian missiles actually able to, for instance, hit Tel Aviv. At the time of filming this yesterday, actually part of, I believe it was either Jerusalem or Tel Aviv suburbs, actually went into a blackout. But let's assume, even for an instance, just hypothetically, what if Donald Trump was telling the truth? What if he actually wants this war to come to an end? Well, it's not up to him to decide that. Iran is actually going to make sure that this war continues at least for a little longer for the following reasons. First, Iran needs to create a deterrent, I should say, for the United States and Israel not to do this again. Let's remember, of course, that the ongoing conflict was preceded by the 12-day war, which I believe was a year ago or half a year ago. And Iran can't be in the situation where they keep getting bombed every couple years or every couple months. In the past, Iran has tried to, for instance, de-escalate in response to US and Israeli attacks, but now is drawing a red line and wants to make the war as costly as possible, not only so I can stop the current conflict, but so they can avoid this from happening again. The second reason, though, Iran wants to continue to attack, and it has every right to do so, is because it wants to get rid of these U.S. military assets across the region. It wants to get rid of the military bases, the radars, the ships, the everything that could be used for a future conflict. So Iran is not going to stop this anytime soon. The Strait of Hormuz will remain closed, and the war will continue for the foreseeable future. So for these reasons, I don't think the war is going to come to an end, but please let me know what you think. Please like, comment, and share, of course. It really means a lot to me, and check out my other videos as well. Thanks.
If you are someone who is saying that this war with Iran is a betrayal by Trump, or you're calling him a traitor, or you've looked into your crystal ball and already determined, you've looked down to the future and said, this is going to be the next Iraq, this is going to backfire horribly for decades to come, then I highly advise you get all of your hot takes and all of your predictions out as fast as humanly possible, because every single indication we're getting is that this conflict is not going to last much longer. We are 5 days into this conflict, and over 50 of these Iranian leaders have been turned to dust. Their navy is at the bottom of the ocean. They have no air defenses. China and Russia are not coming to their defense. Nobody is coming to save them. And we're 5 days in. So if you are going to put your foot in the ground and declare that it absolutely will be a disaster, you have to do it now. Because what I don't want to have happen is, let's say Easter Sunday comes and this conflict is over. No missiles are flying, our objectives are met, this terrorist Islamic regime is brought to its knees. What I don't want to have happen is for all these people to just come back around and act as if nothing was said. Act as if they did not just lose their ever-loving minds once again over what Trump did. Because you're not going to be able to claim that Trump got us into another forever war once the missiles aren't flying anymore. It's very easy to say that right now because you don't really know how it's going to end. But you see, the burden of proof, so to speak, that might not even be the right term, but it's on you right now, because you really don't know how it's going to play out. And so many of the takes I'm seeing are so short-sighted. Listen, peace through strength never, ever meant peace through pacifism. Pacifism is what got us to where we are today. How is it that decade after decade, administration after administration, these same geopolitical problems persist? How is it that Iran can do what they did in 1979 with the hostage crisis? And how is it that Obama needed to send them pallets of cash to release American prisoners? And they'd say, oh, it wasn't for the prisoner release, but ironically, the prisoners got released as soon as the cash hit. All the way to basically current day, where in 2024, there was revealed the plot to assassinate President Trump. The can keeps getting kicked down the road because of passive leaders, because nothing is ever done, because they're afraid if we do this thing, then this other really bad thing might happen. But then Trump comes in and says, well, what if the bad thing, this catastrophic world-changing thing, doesn't happen. And he comes in and proves that you can just do things, and no, World War III is not going to happen.
Trump just announced that this war with Iran is going to last about 4 weeks, and that's a very specific amount of time, so I want to talk about what I think he's covering for. This weekend, the largest media merger in American history closed, so now one family is about to control CNN, HBO, CBS, Warner Brothers, Paramount Pictures, all running on Oracle's infrastructure, and that same family also happens to own Oracle's infrastructure. And it just so happens that Oracle, within the last 2 weeks, has won brand new contracts to host Medicare and Medicaid data for over 150 million Americans, and to run Air Force operations using AI. That's right, who needs separation between church and state when you can have AI run across all of those contracts? Oh, and see if you can find anything wrong with how this is being paid for, because Larry Ellison is personally guaranteeing $44.6 million of this $6 billion merger by using his Oracle stocks as collateral. And that stock price depends on Oracle's federal contracts, you know, the ones that your tax dollars pay for. So the government pays Oracle, and then that revenue supports Oracle's stock, and then Ellison pledges that stock to finance his son's purchase of the largest media company in American history, and then Oracle becomes the infrastructure beneath that company, so Oracle becomes the infrastructure, the collateral, and the beneficiary on every side of the same transaction. So you mean to tell me that public money flows into Oracle and then the Ellison media empire pops out the other end? Oh, and then in the merger filings, Oracle is listed as a neutral third-party vendor? I'm sorry, is the neutrality in the room with us? Oh, but don't worry, you say, because another couple $1 billion of this merger is coming from Saudi Arabia and Qatar, the same governments we're currently at war alongside, in Iran. Right. So I spent this last weekend writing a brief that specifically calls on Congress to require a conflict of interest review before this merger closes, demand data firewall protections between Oracle's government contracts and the media infrastructure it's now holding, and to treat Oracle exactly as it is in this merger, not a third-party vendor, but as the financial backbone of the entire transaction. The Warner Brothers shareholder vote is on March 20th. Congress needs to see this policy brief before it happens, so please feel free to read the whole thing. It's on my Substack, available for free. The link's in my bio. Just share it, please. So just to be clear, I'm not saying that this entire war exists only because of all of this going on, okay? But what I am saying is that 4 weeks is a very convenient amount of time to let a lot of things close. So I'll be watching for every government filing, every federal contract, every regulatory document related to this merger. And if anything moves while everyone's watching Tehran, you'll hear it here first. So follow along if any of this matters to you.
I have spent time to the people who govern the state of Israel. I feel a deep emotional connection to the state of Israel and the Israeli people. You know, after Silicon Valley, there's an area, Herzliya has probably got more startups than any other place other than Silicon Valley in Northern California. So we've actually acquired a number of Israeli companies. We have 2 CEOs at Oracle. One's name is Safra Katz, and she was born in Israel. So again, we love the country of Israel, and we'll do everything we can to support the country of Israel.
Recently hear that many people criticizing Israel, especially after the Gaza operation. How do you feel as someone just saying we love Israel so much?
Well, again, it's a difficult situation, isn't it? To conduct military operations around civilians is very difficult, and of course, there were tragedies. And the civilians were hurt. That's a terrible thing. But one thing we know for certain, that the Israeli army did everything they could to minimize civilian casualties. And in that regard, they've done a much better job than a lot of other armies all over the world throughout history.
This is exactly how the war with Iran is going to come to an end. This war is not going to end with occupation. You're not going to see the US military marching through the streets of Tehran. This is a war of attrition, which means the goal of both the United States and Iran is to wear down the other side until it is no longer able to keep on fighting. And this is a war that Iran is not going to lose. The reason for this is you have to understand that the Iranian military is a system of cells. Yes, it's a unified military, but even if the Iranian military central command was completely eliminated, the military is divided into separate units that can keep on fighting even as that central command no longer exists. Now, what is the US military good at? Well, the United States military is very effective at carrying out airstrikes and occupying parts of countries, at least initially. In 1965, the United States was able to enter Vietnam, and in 2003, it was able to take over all of Iraq in less than a month. But America is absolutely terrible at wars of attrition. For instance, look at Vietnam, where tens of thousands of US soldiers were being killed over nearly a decade. Same thing in Iraq and in Afghanistan. The United States was involved there for almost 2 full decades. And of course, that actually ended up with the Taliban taking over the country and winning the war. But most importantly, you have to also understand that America is actually not a big fan of seeing their own soldiers being killed. Americans don't really care about the other people that they affect, but they do not like seeing their own soldiers coming back to the country in body bags. And this is yet what we're already seeing in this war with Iran. Today, when I'm filming this video, 3 Americans have already been killed. And as the United States runs out of interceptors to stop Iranian missiles, you're going to see more and more US soldiers being killed and the pressure on ending the war increasing. Now, this pressure works not because, politicians care or anything like that, but what they do worry about is that a foreign war could lead to radical opposition within their own country. In Vietnam, the fear was actually genuinely that there were now radicals, such as the Black Panther parties and other groups, that were increasingly seeking out more revolutionary actions because of partly, yes, domestic issues, but also because of unpopular wars abroad. And that is exactly how this war in Iran will come to an end. It's not going to come with the defeat of Iran, rather it's going to become because there are going to be more and more US soldiers that are being eliminated, and then the war will have to come to an end because of the risk of serious domestic opposition. So keep the pressure up domestically, I'd say, if you're American, and if you like this video, please like, share, and comment. I want to hear your thoughts. Thank you.
So Trump says the reason the war could end very soon is because the US military has already done massive damage to Iran's capabilities. He's been claiming Iran's navy, their communication systems, and part of its air force have been basically wiped out, and that the mission was meant to be a short operation to weaken the regime and stop potential attacks. And he even called it a short-term excursion. Yeah, saying the US and its allies went in to eliminate threats quickly, and that the military is already ahead of schedule. And when he said the war could end soon, global markets actually reacted immediately. Oil prices dropped and stocks rebounded because investors believed the conflict might not drag on for months. But here's where things get interesting. I know a lot of MAGA supporters, people who were once some of Trump's strongest backers, are starting to question things. Because for years, the promise was America first, and fewer foreign wars and peace. And now suddenly the US is involved in another major conflict in the Middle East. Some MAGA supporters are strongly supporting him, and they believe Trump when he says the operation is almost finished and that the military moved quickly to neutralize Iran's threat. To them, ending the war in weeks instead of years actually proves his strategy works. But the problem is, Trump's messaging has been a bit mixed. At one moment, he says the war is very complete, and at another, he warns Iran that the US could strike 20 times harder if they disrupt global oil supply. So people are asking, is the war really ending soon? Or are we just in the early stages? Or are we just being gaslighted by these governments? Yeah. But right now the reality is this: the war is only in its second week. And while Trump says it could end quickly, the situation in the Middle East is still extremely tense. And for many Americans, including some MAGA supporters, the biggest question we all have isn't just when the war will end. It's whether the US should have been in this war at all. Because this was Iran and Israel's war. And now US thought, who are we? We should go and rescue Israel. So the real question now is, if Trump says the war will end in 4 weeks, do Americans still trust the timeline? I would want to hear that from you. Please drop a comment. And finally, credit goes to all the respective owners of the clips and content used in my video. The thoughts and perspective guys made today's work possible. And if you loved today's video and you would want to see more of this, ensure to leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and share this video widely. Remember, it helps the channel grow, and I'll see you in the next one.